What's going on, everyone? You're probably wondering who the hell is Jamel Jones? As you should. It's a bit of a long story, but I'm gonna try to give you the Cliff Notes version. Born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, 38 years old. Born and raised in Chicago, South Side, the Inglewood area, Marquette Park area, Gage Park area. Mom's was and still is addicted to drugs. Father was, and he kicked it around the time I was I'd probably say about 12 years old. Well, no, it was sooner than that. He was young. I was younger because he got asbestos poisoning at a company he worked in. Forgive my face. I'm trying to grow this beard out some more, so trying not to cut it right now. But yeah, so when I was 13, my mom tried to kill me for $5 that my pops gave me that she wanted for drugs, and I didn't give it to her, so she tried to stab me. I left, called my pops, and I was with him until the day he died when I was 17 years old. He ended up dying from the asbestos poisoning that he got when I was like 8 or 9. Anyway, he was into real estate, right? He had bought Carlton Sheets mentorship. Not Carlton. Well, yeah, he had Carlton Sheets too, but he had bought Ron LeGrand's mentorship. He had Carlton Sheets course and shit. Y'all remember, if y'all old enough, y'all remember all them damn real estate infomercials used to be on TV back then. But yeah, he bought into all of that, and the man, like, I barely remember ever seeing him sleep. He was always sitting at the kitchen table, and this was back before YouTube. This was before YouTube, before online forums, before ebooks, before all of that, right? And I just remember the man sitting at the kitchen table all day, all night, just stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of books, just reading through them, highlighting stuff, circling things. So he messed around with that for like probably a year and a half, driving for dollars. That's not a new concept. That's an old thing, riding around, driving for dollars. And this was back before wholesaling even had a name, right? He was studying under Ron LeGrand doing lease options. And so he ended up passing away 2 weeks before he closed his first deal. So I made him a promise that, number one, I was going to take care of my brothers. Number two, I was going to finish high school. That was a lot harder than y'all think, than some of y'all might think, especially growing up in Chicago. And number three, I was going to pick up where he left off. So I spent a lot of years. I knew absolutely nothing about wholesaling. Again, it didn't even have a name. I didn't know anything about lease options. I was 16, 17 when he died, and I wasn't really listening when he was trying to teach me the shit. So I spent a lot of years just trying to stack money and buy my way into real estate because I did not know any better, right? So trying to stack that money led me to doing some shit, right? And I ended up going to prison. And let me see. I came here. My son was born in 2006. I came here with the Chicago mentality, fighting constantly. I ended up knocking out this dude, and they charged me with all types of shit. I punched the man one time, cleared him. They charged me with all types of stuff, and they ended up sending me to prison for that. I went to prison for a misdemeanor assault charge, believe it or not. Now, if you're from Chicago, if you're from anywhere like that, then you know that going to prison for a misdemeanor is absolutely absurd. Anyway, all this time, still working, and I'm fighting for custody of my son, and doing my thing, trying to stack money. Still in the back of my mind, I need to make enough money so I could buy my way into real estate. And so I ended up getting custody of my son in 2018 after he was 12 years old. So a 12-year battle. Finally got in front of a judge that was like, they didn't care about mother, father. They cared about parent and parent, which is how all judges should look at it. The mother-father thing, the mother's automatically the best parent. I'm not saying mothers are bad. I'm not saying fathers are good. there's definitely it's a difference, right? Some mothers are shitty, some fathers are shitty. That's just the way it is. So, but anyway, ended up being custody of my son, so I told the universe before that, just give me my baby and I'll straighten up. I'll do what I need to do. So I got custody of him and I didn't follow through on my word. So the universe, almost exactly a fucking year later, the universe decided to force me to follow through on my word in the form of the feds kicking my door in. So I was let out on a pre-trial release, and I got sober because I was doing a lot of drinking, a lot of drugs, all that shit. So I got my sobriety, which is what I wanted. I just felt like I was stuck doing what I was doing, and so I went and got my Class A CDL. And at this point, I'm still not in real estate. I don't know what the fuck is going on, right? So I got my Class A CDL, and I met a guy who's a really good friend to this day. His name Robert Rushing. If you are familiar with Kenny Rushing, a brother who's doing this thing down in Florida, this is his little cousin, right? So Robert told me a word that would forever change my entire fucking life. We was having a conversation about real estate, and he told me the word wholesaling. And it was like a fucking light bulb just went off. Like, what the fuck is that, right? Like, what is wholesaling? And so from that day forward, I was driving semis. I actually blew my shoulder out at that job, had to get surgery. But I was driving semis, and I'm listening to podcasts. I'm listening to Bigger Pockets, all of these things. I'm pretty sure all of y'all all familiar with all these things. And I'm just absorbing information. I'm just like a mind blown. I'm like, what the fuck is this, right? So I learned as much as I possibly could for as long as I could, and then I was like, all right, it's time to make a move. There becomes a point where the learning phase is over, and now you need to implement action. Now you need to start implementing what you've learned, no matter how scared you are. Y'all remember that, because I know a lot of y'all probably watching this video and y'all in the same place I was back then. So I went to Staples. I bought 1,000 blank postcards. I pulled a tax delinquent list. I wrote out postcards. I was sending them out in bunches of 100. And I had one dude call me back. It was a commercial property, 2 units, side by side. One of them was getting, I don't remember the numbers, but I think they was getting like $1,200 a month, and the other side was worth it was getting $1,700 a month. The other side was worth $2,100 a month after they fixed it up. So I talked to the dude, and this dude's like super rich. He actually owns a cell phone company. I'm not even gonna say the name of it, but he's super rich. And I told him what I was trying to do. I'm like, look, brother, I'm just trying to get my foot in the door with real estate. And he's an investor. He knew all about assigning contracts and all those types of things. And he was like, all right, you got 30 days. Cool, got the contract. Now, I'm calling people, doing everything YouTube tell you to do. Pull your cash buyers list from Propstream, skip, trace, and call them, and that shit ain't get me nowhere. So, came up on 30 days. He called me like, hey, man, I really want to help you out, but I got to get this property moved, because he owed back taxes like $2,000. And it was a long story as to why he owed taxes, because he felt like the people that were renting the place from him should pay the taxes, because they, the whole thing. But anyway, and so I was like, all right, man, I think it was 20 more days. I just give me 20 more days, and I swear I'm going to get this sold. I'm going to find you a buyer. So he was like, all right, so we did the addendum, stretched it out another 20 days. And I'm like, fuck, I got to find a buyer for this. And it was a commercial property. Even my boy Robert, he was telling me like, man, leave that property alone. Just focus on single families, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I know that there's some money here. He wanted $100,000 for a commercial property. And retrospect, that property, I could have gotten 200 bands for it. I could have had $100,000 assignment fee or double close, however it would have went. Probably double close, because a lot of cash buyers don't like to see you making a lot of money. So, but anyway, I ended up posting that property on Craigslist at 7 p.m. Before 8 p.m. hit, I had over 100 people hitting my line. And if y'all watched any of my content on YouTube or Facebook, anywhere, Instagram, TikTok, I talk a lot about Craigslist. Now, I don't know if it's just a thing that works in my market, but Craigslist is really big for finding buyers. Now, if you're not utilizing Craigslist, you should give it a try. Real talk. But anyway, so Jason Bingham ended up going out there showing him the property. I'm like, man, I need 25 bands assignment fee. Yeah, man, that's a little steep. Blah, 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 blah. And I had other people offering more, but Jason was like, we can get this thing done in days. He showed me his account. He like, I got it. Let's move. So I ended up assigning it to Jason, $15,000. I remember going to closing, and I'm sitting here like, it was surreal, right? I'm sitting here like, this is it. You know, we went to the attorney, because there's closing attorneys here instead of, well, there's title companies and closing attorneys. Some states is either or, here is both. And so we went out there. Jason was there. The dude, the seller, he didn't even have to come up here. We FedExed him the paperwork. He signed it, FedExed it back. Me and Jason sitting there chopping it up. Dude comes in, slides Jason some paperwork. Jason signs the paperwork. Dude goes back out. The closing attorney comes back in, slides me a check. I'm like, that's it? He's like, yeah, that's it. $15,000. Just like that. From the day I sent out that postcard to the day I closed, it took 42 days. It took 42 days. So it was eye-opening. Like, I didn't care about the money. It could have been $5. It could have been $15. I didn't care. The only thing I cared about was, at that moment in time, wholesale had fucking worked. That's all I was thinking about. Like, this shit works. And so I just took off from there. Shortly after that, I had to dive back into what my father was doing, which was lease options. So I bought a lease option course. I didn't buy the Ron LeGrand one. I think it was Joe McCall I was messing with at that time. I didn't buy his course. I just absorbed information, how I do, and piece it together. So I marketed the way I marketed for a lease option deal. A guy called me, and he was talking shit, and I'm like, well, blah, 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 and I didn't talk to him for like 2 days. And then he hit me back like, you give up already? I said, bro, I don't have time. I'm trying to run a business here. I'm trying to build a business. I don't have time to sit up and follow you around or beg you for your property. If you don't want to do business with me, you don't want to do business with me. My boy said that I'm a shrewd negotiator, because that's how I approach all my deals. I'm not going to beg you. I'm not going to sweet talk you. I'm not going to do any of that shit. This is what I can offer you. Take it or leave it. So he was like, all right, let's do business. I sent him over. I fumbled my way entirely through this. I had no idea I barely knew how to do a wholesale deal, let alone lease option. Fumbled my way completely through it. Sent him over the paperwork, got it under contract, clouded the agreement. That's my puppy. Let me show y'all my puppy. I just got him a couple days ago. His name's Amun Ra. Ra for short. But anyway, so I sent him the paperwork, and he signed it, and I put it on Craigslist, and a young lady in Chicago who worked for Amazon, she was getting transferred up here to run her own facility, and she needed a place to stay. She left work early, went to the bank, got a, what they call it, a cashier's check, went to FedExed me a cashier's check in the amount of $5,000. I gave the owner of the property part of that, because it was an assignment. It was a lease option assignment. I gave the owner of the property part of that. I pocketed $3,700. He wanted $650 a month for rent. So she ended up renting that place, and she actually closed on it about a year ago now. And the rest, as they say, is history. There's a whole nother story on how I ended up creating the software. But that is a quick little background of me and how I got into this shit that I'm in right now. How I got into real estate. Like I said, there's a whole nother story as to how New Realm digital marketing came to be. There's a whole nother story as to how the universal marketing software system came to be. That name is pending. I'm thinking about changing the name up to my software a little bit more. But yeah, that's me. I felt like I had to make this video because there's so many people out here who are just heads on the screen, right? They don't have any context. They don't have any background. They're just here. I have this. Buy this from me. Buy this from me. I have this. Buy it from me. And I don't know. I just felt like I needed to tell my story. I don't know. Anyway, guys, if you're watching this, then you've downloaded my ebook, the free ebook, I guess. I wrote it a little while ago, so I'm probably going to be updating it soon. And if you already got it, then I'll send out an updated version of it if I decide to update it. But sorry for the long video. I hope I didn't bore you guys too much. And I just want to say, I'm here to help, man. I didn't have anybody back in the day. The information that you guys are finding on YouTube and shit these days, that's why it took me so long to get into real estate, because back in the day, nobody was telling this information. Nobody would give you this information. You had to drop bands on people to get this information. Nobody was giving away this information for free like they are today. So it took me a while, man. It took me a while, but ultimately, and I'm not rich by far, y'all. I'm nowhere even close to it. But I'm happy. I'm happy because I'm building. I'm building something, not just for, like, I don't even care about myself, really. I'm building for my sons. I got 2 sons, 15 and 16 years old. I'm building for them, and I'm keeping my promise I made to my father. That's all I ever wanted. So if you guys need any help, anything like that, just reach out to me. I'll help you the best way I can.